Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Data Driven Podcast. My name is Scott LeMay, and I'm an account executive here at Axia. Joining me from Axia is also Yassine, who's our COO.
Hello.
And today we have a guest joining us from Steelhead Technologies out of Michigan. Very happy to speak with Dean, who is the co-founder and head of sales at Steelhead, about digital transformation and automation in the manufacturing industry. So Dean, welcome to the podcast, and I'd love an introduction from yourself.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Yassine, for having me on. I've seen you guys on LinkedIn and really respect your guys' work in this space. So it's an honor to be here. An introduction to myself in general. So we're a couple years into Steelhead. I'm a co-founder of Steelhead, and it's been, my background's in mechanical engineering, and largely our team is based out of Michigan and Minnesota, a lot of mechanical engineers. And we're pretty excited to apply like the data-driven podcast. That is what Steelhead serves to our customers. It's serving data in a very user-friendly manner to facilitate better decisions quicker.
Fantastic, and thank you for the introduction. Maybe we can dive in a little bit deeper into what exactly Steelhead Technology does, if you can provide us an overview there.
Yes. So Steelhead Technologies, our mission is to elevate manufacturing job shops. So what is a manufacturing job shop? It is typically a company that doesn't own any IP, right? They don't develop their own products. They are essentially fulfilling a service to support a larger entity or someone that does build their own product. So typically for Steelhead, what we focus on is the metal finishing job shops. And that sector of the market is one that's in a lot of pain, and we see a lot of opportunity for improvement. And what we do for those companies is we help to first digitize the plant and then automate a lot of the key functionality around order entry, creating quotes, scheduling out the facility, running the jobs through production, and then also optimize them. So once we have the plant digital and a lot of the functions automated, we can then look at the high-level reports to figure out from a profitability perspective, from a quality perspective, from an on-time delivery perspective, where the plant is winning and where the plant is losing.
I've seen a lot of instances where the company that was there for a long time, a job shop, was let's say quitting on certain jobs and all this stuff. But when we were looking actually at the data aggregated with like the market and stuff, it was clear that this company should not be in this sector. But it came as a surprise for them because they didn't see the data. So in your case, it's perfect because you're taking like all of this information that is being generated on the shop, and then you're able to surface it and critically look at it and say like, well, if you want to have a good business, you should be doing this and that, I think. I find this very, very fitting for where the market is right now.
It's precisely correct. You're saying, I'd say, just to go a little off that, is most people don't have it. Like we mentioned before the call, you had a big customer running on Excel. Those are our customers as well. So Excel, generic softwares, old ERPs, homemade, like Microsoft Access-based systems. They're functional. Because you can do a lot of things with time and talent, figuring out entering orders, scheduling, but it's actually very inefficient. So typically, if you have if you're quoting in Excel, then copying it into Microsoft Word to make your edits, putting it into a PDF, and then emailing it to a customer, just those 4 steps, just for a quote, it's very inefficient. And then you have to enter it into the system and run it through production, and it becomes a very laborious process to run a job through the shop.
Yeah, and okay, after that we're gonna go back on track, Scott. But it doesn't take a lot to develop by mistake a critical component for your shop that is now not maintained. You just need one person to kind of engineer with like whatever you have, something a bit more complicated that does the job well, and then have that person leave to have everybody else that come in not understand that system and how to edit it. And then you have this thing that is mission critical sitting in the middle of everything. And now nobody wants to touch this thing. You're rate limited by this. I've seen this happen quite a lot. Like legacy home-baked technology, you cannot have a worse mix in something as fast-paced as a manufacturing plant.
Agreed.
Absolutely. I want to draw attention to something for a second, which is the logo you've got behind you. So Steelhead is a great name. It draws my attention in, and I wanted to talk about branding for a minute. So as we can see behind you, I noticed your logo looks a lot like a fish head, and your newsletter is also called The Weekly Catch. So from what I understand, you seem to be an avid fly fisher, and I'm curious to know, how did this fly fishing passion perhaps impact some of your business branding for Steelhead?
Yeah. Are you guys fly fishers at all?
So I'm up in Canada, and there's a lot of Great Lakes around where I am. So not a fly fisher, but definitely get out of the water every once in a while for some fishing.
Yeah, my kid loves fishing more than I do.
Yeah, so it is named after, and a lot of our team is fly fishermen. So like the steelhead in our area, in my opinion, at least, it's like the prized fish, right? And obviously we're in a manufacturing plant, metal finishing type industry where everything's largely steel. So that's kind of where like the two, passions collide in terms of we're pretty obsessed about this industry at this point, and also love to fly fish. I mean, that's like as work gets more and more busy and family life gets more and more busy, it's like your hobbies get trimmed down, right? When you're younger, there's so much time for free hobbies, and now it's like you kind of got to pick and choose. And for me, it's hunting and fishing. And when it comes to fishing, it's steelhead fishing. And yeah, so that was kind of like where the name, I think it was actually Mark, our CTO, came up with the name. And it's nice to have a 2-syllable name like Axia, Twitter, or Netflix. It's easier just to, for name recognition purposes. So that's how we thought of the name. And then the logo, if you see the logo, it's actually like an S and a T for Steelhead Technologies and a fish. And my roommate at the time was a graphic designer. His name's Paavo Heltonen. And he built the logo in like a night. And he does work for like Polaris and a lot of Fortune 100 companies. And yeah, happens to be my roommate, happens to be a great guy, and spun up a logo overnight, and we loved it. So from then it's been, it is kind of fishing. Our brand is sort of, fishing related as a result of that. Kind of a play on words. Our marketing lady, Chantel, is phenomenal, and she kind of runs with that to a great degree.
Yeah, it's a fantastic logo, and I'm curious, have you had the chance to come up to Canada yet to do a little bit of fly fishing?
Not yet, no. So we do have, we're 2.5 years into this venture, Steelhead, and most of our customers are in the US, but we do have some actually in Ontario, and that would be awesome. So yeah, hopefully someday in the future, one of our great customers will invite us over there for not a work trip, but a fishing trip.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime. Just let us know, and we'd love to host you. And one more comment on the branding. It seems like your branding also illustrates, your understanding of the folks you work with, and is a good differentiator for Steelhead. I can definitely tell you care about your customers, and something I've actually seen you write online is that you don't really work for Steelhead. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, so when a lot of young people, or at least myself and a lot of the co-founders on our team, think about like, what do you want to do in the future? Like my background's at General Motors, and then worked at Boston Scientific here in Minnesota. And I think it's always a dream, or at least the American dream, to go build a company, right? Work for yourself, don't work for the man type of thing. But one thing I realized is you never really work for yourself, it feels like, and actually your customers become your boss. And especially in the early days when you only have a handful of customers, it's like when they say to jump, you jump, right? If they say we need to hear on Monday, you're there on Monday, figuring it out and solving the problem. So I think that is something that we carry, not only myself, but as a greater team, that like the customer service has to be perfect, because how we react right now to our customers, like requests for changes or ideas for the future, is going to shape our future. And right now we're finding our way, but a slight change right now is going to have a big impact in 10 years.
Yeah, and it's such an important trait to have, when the customer base cannot articulate exactly what they want technologically, right?
Right.
In some space, they can actually do that, because let's say you're doing some dev tech type of thing and you're selling to developer, you're a developer, you're selling to them. Like it's kind of fine. But like in this specific context where you have to rehaul the technological infrastructure of a company that has no idea like how to go about it and what each of the tech are implemented, being able to listen closely about their pain, their need, and then articulate that into something that you can then propose and show the value. It's absolutely crucial in this space.
Yeah. And I would say that's what shaped our product to what it is today. So Steelhead is a digital reality of our customers' ideas. Now they will say something like, this is painful, right? Like this order entry in Steelhead is painful. And then we have to ask why? How does this work? How does that work? How does this work? And kind of boil it down to like the physics of what they actually mean, and then go to our developers and say, hey, this is what the customer physically needs based on their reality, and then developers bring it home. So I think we've had a great success listening to the customers, like you said, Yassine, and then focusing on the physics of what needs to be fixed.
Love it.
Absolutely, and I think the customer-centric mindset is fantastic. Obviously, you're growing quickly, so Steelhead is definitely doing something right. For the folks that you do help out, can you kind of outline what the current state of digital transformation looks like in the industries they work in?
Yeah, I say in the current state, like pre or post coming to Steelhead? Current as
let's say pre coming to Steelhead. What kind of processes are they using, and how are you able to augment and strengthen those processes?
Yeah, I'd say the number one thing they're using is, I actually had a customer in Wisconsin say this. They have like 150 people in their shop, and they said, Dean, we are running our, typical sales process is like, what do you guys use today? And he's like, Dean, we are running our plant on sneakerware. I'm like, what is sneakerware? I haven't heard of it. And he's like, well, if I need to find out an answer, I tie my sneakers and I go jog out to the facility and find the solution. And I would say that is the operating system number one, because most plants are running paperwork, right? Paperwork through the shop, and paperwork's not digital. And to find a paper solution, you have to go find the paper, or go find the parts, or go find the job. And that is extremely, I know you guys have probably seen, I've seen your content saying that there's like a labor shortage, right? Everyone's short on labor, and running around the plant that's 200,000 square feet looking for parts, that takes labor. And the majority of our customers, the biggest hit to their P&L is labor. So what we do at Steelhead is just bring it digital, add in a global search, just like Google, type in the search and go find the parts in seconds, go find the paperwork, go find the job status, the quote status, the invoice status in a matter of seconds, to speed up that process. Because it doesn't really matter what system they're running today. Typically there's some level of digital system in the office and then paper in the plant. And with Steelhead, we bring it all digital to tie it all together.
Love it. And obviously once everything's been digitized, the reporting that unlocks it provides a lot of value to customers. In terms of KPIs, because obviously right now it's about what is the business challenge and what are they looking to track, and then Steelhead could come in and support that. What are some of the important KPIs that you're helping your customers meet?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. We love KPIs, obviously, and it's really something that we can serve that they don't have before. And it's always curious when we bring on a new customer what their KPIs are. And I can tell you they're not always the same. A typical one is obviously lead time. Like we talk to a lot of our customers. So when you mentioned earlier, like we try to deeply understand our customer's use case, we go a step further and actually talk to their end customers to figure out what they care about. Because if we can help satisfy 2 chains down, well, then we help our customers win. And if our customers win, we win. So it's like the old saying, the rising tide lifts all boats. That's what we believe. And the number one KPI I can tell you for our customer is lead time. So I know when you guys are talking to those, you guys actually probably work with our customers. Lead time is critical, right? You have $1 million projects getting held up by $100,000 or like a $1,000, coding. That's a problem, right? And we need to find a way to solve that problem. So lead time is key. Profit margins are key. Like most people, I'll give you an example. The reason why we're so heavy in metal finishing is because it's a high job count, low mix environment. And what that means is there's a lot of job to job variability, and it's not high volumes, right? There's no Coca-Cola cans going out the same can all day. It's like we're doing a part for Boeing, we're doing a part for, whatever, Bombardier or Lockheed Martin, and then John Deere, and then whatever. So there's so much mix, it becomes very hard to track the cost to execute each job across like the 10 work centers. So typically we'll see in a plant about 9 to 9.5 people touch a job from door to door. And now that means there's like 9 little micro tasks that need to be tracked from a costing perspective. And in a plant that has 100 people, they're doing 100 jobs per day. So that's like 900 little micro tasks that need to be tracked from a costing perspective, and it's got to be super easy because, like I mentioned, labor is the most important thing. So things got to go fast, and that is what Steelhead really unlocks, is that ability to get that job cost data. So the profitability, I would say, is the number one KPI. Lead times probably number 2, and then from there, it's a little. I mean, people are looking at quote turnaround times. They're looking at win rates, sales cycles. They're looking at capacity. They're looking at percent utilization. Like we predicted X to happen. We scheduled Y to happen, but Z happened, right? And Z could be way up or way down. And having that feedback loop to say, why is something good or bad from a quality perspective, from a performance perspective, or a profitability perspective is really a competitive edge.
Yeah, totally agree here. And I don't know how you're tracking the KPI, but I can guarantee that you have granularity here. And this thing, the being able to be granular on, let's say, the lead time, and like you said, there's like 9 people touching the stuff. Okay, but like, where is my lead time being held up into that 9 chunks? And for this job, is it a fluke? And then this person just was too tired this day or whatever, or it's like there's a specific problem in here, and if we improve this, for sure we're going to improve the total lead time. Same thing happened on our case when we digitalized the whole process, and then we're actually like just looked at the data. We're not expert in I don't know, aerospace, automotive, and mining, whatever. Like the customer are usually the expert. But when we look at the data, we're like, oh, this is a big number, and it doesn't look like really normal. If I had to pick one, I will improve that number. And then they look at it, they're like, yes, let's do that. Let's do that thing. So granularity is super, super important. And I believe that's what your software is able to provide directly on the shop floor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I emphasize your statement of we're not experts in their process, right? They're the experts in what's going in and out of the line. Like what the line does, I have no clue, right? They could be doing a finish, they could be doing like certain chemistry, they could be doing a coating type, and the chemistry is like, boom, over my head. But what I do know is that when in at 8 a.m., it came out at 9 a.m., and we thought it would come out at 8:30, but it came out at 9. So that's a problem, right? So that is something I do know, and it is super cool to work with these people and show these plant owners the data that hasn't had it for 9 years. And now they're making pricing adjustments, they're making staffing adjustments based on data that they never had, and then seeing them grow. So that's the most satisfying part of it. I mean, obviously, growing a team and growing a company is satisfying, but when your customers look you in the eye and say, Dean, this is worth, like there's one in Minnesota said, this is worth $1 million to me because of the margins, their net margin just going up. Now they're hiring people, and just, it's very satisfying.
That's awesome. And my original question was on KPIs, and obviously Steelhead is providing visibility. You're allowing your customers to track these KPIs. You can make a KPI out of pretty much anything, obviously. And I noticed a KPI that caught my attention was scrolling through your website or perhaps social media, which was FPH. Can you kind of dive into that a little bit? Is this an important one to track?
Can you provide a little more context? Scott? Is that fish per hour?
That's what I was referring to. It made me laugh. I thought that was a
Yeah.
great example of truly upholding your brand, if you will.
Yeah. Fish per hour is critical on the weekend. So I don't know if you guys are doing any fishing this weekend. I hope to. And yeah, that'll be one we track on Saturdays and Sundays for sure.
Love it. That's awesome. So at Steelhead, your mission, from what I understand, is to be the operating system for job shops, and you've obviously done a great job providing us insight on that here. Beyond that, can you provide some insight into the values that Steelhead holds? What would make a great team member at Steelhead? Who are you bringing onto the team?
That's a great question. So as we are scaling now, we're starting to find like our little niche in the industry. And I think the overarching theme for a Steelhead employee is we have found a lot of success bringing on younger talent, people just out of high school. And I think the reason is it resonates, the mission and the vision resonates. They have a chance to, when you come to Steelhead, really change and have a lot of power, actually. Because at Steelhead, I mean, maybe we're biased, right? But we think our software is having a huge impact on our customers. And we can take a mechanical engineer straight out of college, train them on Steelhead in 30 days, and now they're going into these 50, 150, 200 headcount job shops and kind of rechanging or reconfiguring the controls on which their business runs. So what does it take for that to happen? I would say in general, you have to be extremely confident, right? And you have to be pretty intelligent to learn the software. But I think above all, just being a good team member. And I'd say the overarching quality is when push comes to shove, you have to be willing to do what it takes to get the job done. I mean, there's been some stories of like, there's a Mike Johnson. He's a deployment engineer on our team. He's down in Tennessee, and a big deployment for us. And he's new to the team, relatively new. And there's a mass data import that wasn't working properly. So Mike worked through the night, like from he left the plant at 5, worked till 7 the next morning, and then by the time he walked in at 8 a.m., the data import was done. So like that type of person, it's a special type of person, right, that does that. And there's stories of a lot of people on our team doing that level of like doing whatever it takes mentality for the customer that really in the long run, I think rubs off on people and rubs off on our customers, and everyone seems to be pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, seems like it's this entrepreneurial energy.
Yeah.
This little fire.
A little fire, yeah, for sure. And the whole team shares it, which makes it such a fun place to work. Because we use Slack internally, and there's just a lot of energy going through Slack and through our team meetings and with our customer meetings as well. So it's been so fun to work with.
Great response. And we've got Yassine as well, who's another co-founder, and I'm privileged enough to have joined the team. Yassine, just on values, anything to add in terms of what you looked at when you were building Axia and the values you wanted to uphold?
Yeah, well, Dean is spot on here. Like if you boil it down to, it's really, for me, it's really like that entrepreneur fire that like I'll figure it out. Like we have to do this, okay, cool, and then we are gonna change this industry and we're gonna change how this customer operate, cool. And if there's issue along the way, because there's always are issues, they need to be thriving in an environment like this and wanting to actually get to that finish line, whatever it takes, whatever they have to learn in between. And this is what makes it fun, honestly. Is like it's like you can play around with this, grow, learn, and have a immense amount of impact and ownership on your stuff. That's the best person to have on your team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ownership. I'd second the ownership part. That is so key.
Absolutely. Seems like you've got a great team, and same thing over at Axia here. Everyone's got to pull their weight. We're all wearing many different hats, but I think that shared purpose and what we're trying to achieve within the manufacturing industry really pushes us all forward. On your side, so Steelhead is built to make job shops easy to run, manage, and grow. I imagine that beyond just providing that software, you're also providing a full partnership experience, I would imagine. what can Steelhead customers expect to get beyond just the software?
Yeah, I'd say that it's the software. I mean, what we do is software as a service, right? So the software is a part of it, but the service is a huge part of it. So when you buy Steelhead, you're buying the ones and zeros at the end of the day, but what you buy on top of it is the people. And like I mentioned, like that story about Mike Johnson, like these people are, like this is all we do, right? We help these job shops run more efficiently for more profitability, you know, and deliver more parts on time. So when you buy Steelhead, that's what you got. You got 30, just over 30 people now, pulling for you. And when you call customer service, like they are going to respond in under 8 minutes. So I think that is so critical to our vested success as a company. But also we have quite a few plants on Steelhead now. So you're also going to have our consult on, you guys are doing this today. Here's how you quote a job. Here's how you schedule your plant. Here's your target margin. Here's your target lead time. Here's your target quote time. Like all of these best practices, we actually authored a book called the Job Shop Playbook, and it's for sale on Amazon. And what you can read and what you can expect there is they get a list of best practices across each function of your enterprise in a job shop to, I don't want to say guarantee, but almost guarantee success. And it's not easy. Like what the job shop playbook's written in a way where if you do it, you'll be an elite job shop in the industry. But that is part of the service we offer to our customers, because to be clear, our customers pay us monthly. So if we're not delivering month in, month out, they're going to leave. Now we haven't had one leave, and the reason is so far we've been delivering, but also if they suffer, we suffer, right? So if they go out of business, so we're working day and night to double our customers.
I absolutely love the amount of ownership you're taking on this. It's not just like, hey, I have a 5-year contract, it's fine. Like month in, month out, we deliver value every time, value over value. Absolutely love that.
Agreed. And I think the Job Shop Playbook is a fantastic resource, and it's up there for people to go and download and check out for themselves. But maybe, Dean, could you provide a few insights or highlights from that playbook for the audience here?
Yeah, so I think I mean,
without giving away everything, obviously we want them to take a look at the resource, but
yeah, so I think the biggest thing is it's actually not too crazy. The biggest thing is just the fundamentals of business, right? Where businesses exist to turn a profit. So when it comes to turning a profit, how does that actually work, right? Well, first, maybe we got to start on the marketing side, because most of these companies, most of our customers at least, don't go to they don't have MBAs. They don't have almost even any college experience sometimes, right? So there are sometimes it's like family run, or they start a shop of their own and they know someone that, has a need in the area. So maybe they have high school educations in some cases. So what we start with marketing. Find your ICP, find a good customer. What does it mean? What does a good customer mean? How do you target them? Do you have account-based marketing? Do you do direct sales outreach? And then eventually you get a quote. What do you do with it? How do you quote a job? In this industry, what does a fair quote look like? And how quickly should you turn it around and send it back to the customer if you expect to win it? And then once you win the quote in, how do you schedule your shop, right? I mean, you have capacities, maybe the ability to expedite, and how should you break down because essentially you're selling capacity, and a lot of our customers are extended service of their end customer, and they have to find a way to monetize that capacity. So it really is a holistic look from marketing all the way through eventually billing, and kind of gives tips along the way. Like one, for example, these are coming from our customers, right? These aren't our ideas. I mean, we have some ideas in there, but largely it's a combination of all the best practices from all of our customers. And one of them is like a 2-hour turnaround on quoting. So if you guys have seen any data out there on, what it takes to win a job, I think that there's a stat out there that says 80% of the time, the first quote wins. So even if you are a little higher priced, like in this industry, it's a low margin industry, and typically 10% up to 20% margin, net margin. So if you can come in at 25, but you're the first quote in, I mean, hey, now you have a healthy 5% increase on your competition. Now you can scale. Now you can hire better people. Now you can hire more people, and it really unlocks the rest of the organization to have success.
Yeah, I can second that. Like we've seen it in the data, like these high energy job shop where like you send an RFQ and then within an hour you have a response, or like they're the first by far. It do send other signal that they are actively wanting to work with you, versus others that are kind of lagging, and then you have to ping them and all of this. So yeah, it's we're also seeing it in the data on our end.
Cool. Yeah, I'd love to see the data. You guys probably have a lot of data on that side, and that'd be cool to see. And probably it shows some competence as well, right? If you send out a request for a quote and it takes a day or two and you need to call them and, hey, where's my, versus you send a request and bang, you get it back right away. It's like, wow, these guys are on top of their stuff.
You hit the nail on the head, exactly. And data is fundamental to everything we do here at Axion. Providing that information to our customers, just as you do at Steelhead, allows them to make those better business decisions, right, and mitigate some of their risk. Those were great insights from the Job Shop Playbook, Dean. Everyone who's listening, encourage you to go out and take a look. You'll be able to up your game for sure. In terms of the stage that Steelhead's at, obviously Axia is very similar. We're new companies. We're trying to disrupt the supply chain industry, provide new tools for manufacturing companies and job shops. On the business side, Dean, what are some business lessons you've learned along the way growing Steelhead, and maybe how have some of these lessons contributed to a better experience for your customers?
Yeah, I'd say the founding conversation actually came from a shop in Ontario. So it was a metal finisher in Ontario. That's how this whole thing started. And the one thing we did is what Yassine mentioned earlier, is just listen. So we were doing like hardware, we were doing like automated chemical processing lines before, and it was having moderate success. And then this customer in Ontario was like, we need a way in this industry. There's nothing that exists, and they just ranted for an hour on the problem of what Steelhead has built to solve, and digitizing and streamlining this high mix, low volume environment. And all we did was just listen and take notes. And I would say that has been the fact that our predecessors, we have competition, right? There's probably 10, 15 competitors out there that are loosely in the same market as us. And the fact that they didn't listen to our customers and recognize how much of a pain they're in is the whole reason why we exist. So I would say listening to the customers, like I couldn't stress enough how important that is, but not only from when we started, but all along the way, because we've made 1,000 product decisions ever since our start a year and a half ago or 2.5 years ago. And that's been the biggest one. Another learning experience on the business side, I would say, is probably, in the early days, you have to, for venture capitalists, right, put up some numbers from a revenue perspective. And sometimes you can get a little distracted maybe by the number itself and not just getting a killer product. And our venture capitalists actually is like TIA Ventures and C2V Ventures, are phenomenal advisors. They were actually focus on the product before we're going to scale it. Because once you have a product that people just kill for, then you go turn on the gas on scaling. So I think in some earlier scenarios, maybe we got a little distracted on monetizing or extracting the most revenue out, or deploying speed. Like, why does it take 2 months to deploy a customer when we should be, our CAC has to be better, or our acquisition onboarding experience can be better. To not be so distracted on that, focus on the product first, and then work to scale a business second. And now we're kind of tipping into that scaling stage ever since like this summer. Is really, we're starting to really scale up.
Cool.
And talking about scaling up, it sounds like the product's there and you're providing fantastic value. In terms of new markets, do you believe there's any global markets out there that could benefit from Steelhead's product? Or if not globally, what US states would you love to be present in present in that you're currently not doing business in, obviously before you arrive in Canada at some point.
Yeah, no, Canada's on our hit list for sure. So in the US, we're largely in the Midwest. I mean, we have a lot of traction in the Midwest because that's where our team is focused. We do see, I mean, we have customers in probably 30 states at this point, and Canada as well, Ontario, and working on a few in Alberta. So we're getting into Canada, but not deep there. So as far as like our long-term vision, it's the US first, it's Canada second. As far as like hiring people, like we need to hire probably salespeople in Ontario pretty quickly. And then after that, on an international scale, Mexico, we have some customers that have like plants in Mexico. So it's probably natural that we'll be there just by kind of organically in the short term. But Europe is a big focus. So typically what Steelhead is really doing is speeding up these plants and solving the labor problem, right? Or streamlining the high labor problem and allowing the current people to be maybe more effective. And where labor is expensive is where Steelhead is very valuable. So Europe would be a natural second, or I guess once you go across the pond, probably Europe next. And from there, who knows? I mean, Asia, I don't know.
The possibilities are endless. Love it,
Right.
love it, and hopefully we'll see you in Canada soon, as mentioned. You mentioned the labor issue, and Yassine, this is something that I know you've talked about a lot on this podcast. Anything you wanted to add on to that on the labor topic?
Me or Dean?
Sorry, Yassine.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say something, and I think you saw it in my eyes because yeah, I've met a lot of manufacturers here in Ontario and in Quebec, and they are literally scrambling to fix that problem because when you don't have any processes in place, no digitalization, it's like sneak aware, like you said. The only way to scale your business is very simple. Is like you need to hire more people, and then you can run your ops and then do that. So that's kind of what it is, right? But if you can find, and if like there's labor shortage and it's harder to hire more people, it means that you're capped, right? It would not be a problem if there was not that much job to begin with. But what we've seen is that because of the disruption and whatnot, there's a big tendency from like anything manufacturing related, hardware related, to favor localization first and foremost. So like even if like the manufacturer is not the most cost effective, whatnot, if they are responsive and if they are near, it's big plus. But then what I have here is like a supply of job, right? But a shortage of capacity, because that's how you scale it. You scale it with like people. But now if you are able to figure this point and then to reduce the need for human to increase your capacity, and let's say for the same amount of people, you are twice as more effective, and then you can run and optimize your shop like that. It's a big advantage, because literally there's jobs everywhere. You just need to be able to absorb them when they come, and then you're good to go. So this is why I think you're seeing such a rapid scale. I can confirm like that's actually what's happening. Like automatization, I've seen like robots, I've seen like people bringing immigrant, trying to lure people in with internship by improving the shop and whatnot. But it's very hard to get people in. It's like automatization and improving the operation. That's the name of the game.
Agreed.
100%. We got a few more minutes here, Dean. So to start kind of wrapping things up, you've done a great job getting Steelhead to this point. So congratulations for all the success so far. Looking forward, what's your long-term vision for Steelhead in the coming years?
Yeah, from a long-term vision perspective, I'd say the future is a little unknown, but we truly believe we're at the tip of the iceberg in terms of in our industry, in terms of market penetration, and even in terms of total value we can deliver to the customer. So we want to go deeper into our customers today, but also go deeper into the market, right? So we only have a fraction of the market today, and we strongly believe that we can get to a pretty deep level of penetration into our local market, into Canada, and that's like our next 5-year plan. And as far as post 5 years, I mean, there's some tangential industries like machining and fabrication that once we get there, we could maybe entertain. But right now, we're pretty focused on the metal finishing because it's been so, I guess, so ripe for the picking, and we've seen so much traction there. It's hard to ignore it. But yeah, I'd say that the 5-year plan is, I mean, we want to run the metal finishing industry, and what that takes is it's probably 100 to 150 people, and it's probably, yeah, US and Canada. That's our 5-year plan.
I absolutely love the focus. It's refreshing to see. Love it.
Yeah, and it shows, the commitment to your current customers. You found your niche, where to provide the most value. So continuing on that path is awesome. Looking forward to seeing, where Steelhead gets in the coming years. And Dean, again, to wrap things up here, thank you for the insights you've brought to the Data Driven podcast. Yassine, anything to add before we let Dean have the final word?
That was awesome. That's all I have to say.
Okay. I would like to hear a little more from you guys too. I'd say just to wrap things up from our side. I mean, we mentioned KPIs, right? All day,
yep.
Like, profitability, WIP rate, work in progress or lead times. But we just had a customer in Milwaukee. His name's Daniel. He's this phenomenal guy, ex-military, and bought this company at 4 people. Now he's got 20 people and he's looking to go to 160. And his biggest takeaway after a few months of using Steelhead, he's like, wasn't actually any of the KPIs. Shocking, right? Because we sell data, right? And they're like, why are, what was your feedback? And he says, well, the biggest thing is now I used to send all my invoices on Saturday. I'd catch up. And now because invoicing and everything's so streamlined, he's like, I'm home on Saturdays. And my wife loves to have me with the family. He's got a couple of kids, home on Saturdays. So sometimes it isn't even the KPIs. It's just improving our customers' lives, which is also pretty satisfying.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone's got their life outside of work, and I think that's truly the benefit and the value that we're bringing to some of these folks. Dean, any last things that we haven't covered today that you might want to get out there? Anything else you want the world, the audience, to know about Steelhead, if anything?
Yeah, I'd say if you're a metal finishing job shop and you're curious about maybe a better way to run the plant, our contact info is www.gosteelhead.com. We can definitely help you out with showing you what life could be like. And in the future, I mean, we would like to talk to you guys, actually, Yassine and Scott, about potentially working together, because I think what you guys are doing and what we're doing, I think there's a great connection that needs to be bridged.
Great synergy. Let's actually do that meeting. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
super down. Let's close this one and then let's schedule it.
All right, we'll hop back on in 3 minutes.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Dean. Appreciate your time. Everyone, go check out Steelhead. They're providing a lot of value to the industry. Yassine, Dean, thank you. We'll wrap it up here. Again, this was the Data Driven podcast.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Yassine. Enjoy the weekend.